This week's episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is proudly brought to you by Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource with over 160 instructional videos, including everything you need to take a 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com to sign up for their free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 80. This week on the show, we talk about the outdoor industry going off the deep end, and we get a little bit into brand loyalty and what gets guys so spun up about the brands that they care for the most. All right, welcome to the 80th episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, where your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. You can check us out at hpoutdoors.com, across all of the various social media outlets out there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're a Facebook user, you can come over to our Facebook listeners group where you can interact and engage with a lot of different listeners of the show from literally all over the world. And if you're new to the show, you can catch the podcast's past episodes across all the various platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the places you can find quality podcast content. You can find our show. Definitely appreciate you checking us out this week. And we are proud and thankful for the sponsors of this week's show, Gunner Kennels, engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner Kennels in a category all its own. Gunner Kennels was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. Gunner Kennels are dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market. Man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at www.gunnerkennels.com. And we would also like to thank Big Al's Silhouette Decoys. Quality silhouette decoys proudly made right here in the USA. Thank you to the sponsors of this week's show, and we encourage you all to support the companies that support us. Joining me this week, as he always does, is Dan Harushka. Dan, what say you?
I like those companies too, so support them. But, no, man, we always talk about it, but doing the, the honey-do list and getting everything done in the off season while you have time, and, now just coming off hunting season, I seem to have a very long list of things to do. So, yesterday I was in one of our smaller bathrooms, and we just put an addition on. So now the wife wants to update everything else. So moving from a dark blue room, and she wants it painted yellow. So I'm on my second coat of primer with the doors shut, just getting just the sniffer high, I guess, man. I woke up with another bad headache this morning, and I think it was due to all that, but just doing that and planting some new grass now that all the snow's gone. It was snowing this morning as well. But the worst part is that we have these chickens, and the chickens go and eat all the seeds. So I'm going to have to go get some I'm going to have to go get some T-posts and, kind of block it off somehow, and I guess do sections at a time, because I don't know. I just go outside and start throwing rocks at them, and I try to keep them in their little contained area, but they keep flying out, and I'm over it. I'm so frustrated.
Struggling with the farm life.
Anyway, so, oh my gosh, dude, it's bad. Well, but yeah, that's life, and getting everything done and cleaned up, and just crappy weather. It's miserable outside. So
yeah, the weather's been tough. I went out this morning turkey hunting. We're recording this here on Sunday, and went out turkey hunting this morning, and we had a 30-degree drop overnight, and 20-mile-an-hour winds pick up. So it pretty much turned off the turkey hunting right here locally for us this morning. And, I look at the forecast, and this week's supposed to be in the 80s several days here. So, I wish it would just make up its mind already. And the thing that is really frustrating about this is that it's going to be one of those years where we feel like we go from winter to summer and there's like no spring, because it's been terrible this April. And usually here by May in Virginia, it starts getting warm. So looks like we're going to miss the boat on a lot of spring action, unfortunately, but, hopefully that'll turn on the bass fishing maybe a little bit sooner. I don't know.
Yesterday was our opener, and the guy that I usually go with, he ended up missing a turkey because they snuck in on him and his gun was across his lap. He wasn't in a blind or anything, but he's like, if you'd have been there, we easily would have doubled looking out and everything. But for Friday at work, I had a bad migraine and woke up Saturday morning and just couldn't pull it together. So my head's just been killing me lately. I don't know if it is the temperature changes or what's going on, but
well,
there we are.
I'm sure this episode's not going to help that headache much at all, because
no, it's probably from all the social media rants that I read and just stresses me out.
So this, it's funny because we talk about what we wanted to cover, and unfortunately, this week's topic really, as much as we don't want to really go into it, you can't really ignore it, I think, because it's been just such a big, crap storm on the internet of, things that have been going on. So we thought we would try to take a little bit of a different optic on it, just because, we're not here to wear out anything, that's already been hashed out. And, we're not really pushing political agendas here. That's not really ever been the focus of this show. But I think what this situation has shown us is that, not that we haven't known this for a while, but people are very passionate about the companies that they support. And, particularly when you go into, the niche stuff, the Yetis and the Sitkas and the Kuyus and the First Lights and things of that nature. It's nothing new. I mean, this has been going on for billions, forever. Ford, Chevy, whatever. You can draw your comparisons across a lot of different things. But for the waterfowl world, it's a much smaller kind of focused thing. So we thought we would kind of dig in a little bit to what is it that that gets people into this position, and kind of why do we find ourselves supporting companies or having preferences that we do, and what are some of the things that we look at? Because I'll tell you right now, I'm not the type of hunter that I don't buy just the cheapest thing out there. Now, having said that, we understand that there are a lot of different people out there, a lot of different circumstances, and a lot of things that people place value on that are different from us and from other people. So we know that there's people out there that will buy something strictly on price. We know there's people out there that they're not going to consider price because they have the means to do so. So this isn't designed to be like a right or wrong approach to this. This is just kind of our optic and some of our thoughts about what's going on here. And it's not an attempt to pick sides or say that our way is better than anyone else's. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And first of all, I want to go back and say I appreciate you saying crap storm, because I know you almost just dropped an S-bomb that I get tore up over all the time. And second, we just got done with the Ramsey Russell episode.
Yep.
And talking about hunters fighting each other and holy hard line that people take without having information. And that's one of the things that I just don't get it. I don't get it, especially when, you might have a little financial obligation to these companies because you buy their product, but or you buy a membership, whatever it may be, but to just straight not listen to the other side and not have a conversation about it is not helpful whatsoever. But I don't know. I guess we can kind of get, if you want to start into the whole Yeti NRA.
I think this is a really good example of where we're at in the country as a whole, right? And everyone is very, very much hardlined in their positions and not really interested in having conversations with the other side about, where they come from. And I think that is just something that has built over several years within the country. I don't think this is something that started overnight, but what we're finding is that, you can have some really harmful repercussions of that. And particularly within a community that all have common interests in preservation of the Second Amendment and things like that, preservation of public ground, hunters' rights, hunters' access, things like that we all share value in. I really have a hard time finding where it benefits us to be divided. We can disagree, right? But I don't see where it benefits people to like actively campaign against the other side, to not support them or whatever, when at the end of the day, although we may have different ways of going about it, we all have similar things that we're interested in protecting and preserving.
Yeah, and that's, you just sit there and shake your head when you see some of the arguments online, and there were a lot of famous people that came out, and I'll just go about the Yeti thing, and like say Bob Fulkrod, he's a historic hunter and just a really good guy. And I'm saying even like on my birthday and stuff, he'll message me privately and say happy birthday, have a good one, stuff like that. And he took a very hard line on the NRA side. And I know that there's people in our Facebook group that I saw messaging him on his page and be like, Bob, just think about it. And he's like, there's no way, like, until I see, proof and stuff. He's like, anti-Yeti. So, and those are the kind of people that you would think more like a Shockey or something. Shockey's a big name and he hasn't said anything about it. So wait for that instead of taking that hard line at least, and get information and figure out that, even though what went down with Yeti, if you don't have all the information, like to say that they're anti-Second Amendment and anti-outdoors and anti-hunting is just ridiculous.
So, well,
that's all I can say.
And again, I think, I take issue with this in a couple of different ways. One, they're a privately owned company. Okay. They can make decisions however they see fit. That in no way indicates that they don't support the Second Amendment, right? I mean, it's just like you making a choice for your family financially. That doesn't necessarily mean anything about how you believe or whatever, right? So, I mean, I don't necessarily think one, indicates the other. But also, a lot of people that want to attack Yeti for the decision, I wonder, like, well, what other products do you use and do you purchase? And do you hold them to the same standards? Because let's be honest, a lot of companies don't get as involved as a company like Yeti or some of these others, right? So, and if I'm a company on the sideline, let's say, not supporting the NRA in any kind of discount program or whatever, what's my incentive to do it now? Because if I ever want to back out of that because my situation changes or I want to alter the program, you're going to get crushed in the media for the perception. And it's like, what good does that do? Right? I mean, it's like the NRA wants you to marry them forever. And maybe you just want to date and like do your part and then get out because, you've got a lot of equities or whatever. And I get it. People are going to say the Second Amendment's one of, if not the most important cause, and it should always be something. And if that's your position, that's cool. I respect it. I'm not disagreeing that it's very important, but I'm also going to ask you, if you're going to pull away from a company like Yeti for this decision or whatever, are you going to pull away from the other companies that have never offered a discount to the NRA or any support to the NRA to achieve that end? I mean, it can't be just a one company, one moment in time evaluation if you're going to take that super hard line stance, in my opinion.
Right. And then, the people are burning their coolers and shooting them and, blowing them up, whatever. And then saying that they're going to go buy a Ozark Trail or something because they support it. Well, then you're going into Walmart who won't sell ARs. You're going to all these other companies that have taken a stance against outdoors or at least hunting. So then where do you end up with that? But then, like, a question to you, if someone does not give discounts to the NRA or, is a sponsor or whatever, like, does that automatically put them as anti-Second Amendment? Like, does the NRA own the Second Amendment? Because that's what it's coming down to.
People are applying against Yeti, then the answer to that would be yes. If you don't support the NRA in some form of fashion materialistically with discounts or, donations or whatever, then you're against. I think that's.
So then I was going to say, so Pelican comes out with a ad on Facebook that says, every cooler bought $10 goes towards the NRA. Well, that's fine and dandy. Then you look at the picture and the NRA, all about gun safety and whatnot. The person sitting there with a open Bud Light with a rifle in their other hand and a beer in one hand, a rifle in the other, and a cooler right next to him in a truck bed. So is that what NRA is trying to? I just can't see them being happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to take a second to make people understand too. This is not intended to be an anti-NRA discussion. The discussion here is the reaction to the decisions made, not so much what decisions were made. Okay. I find it interesting. For example, I got an email yesterday, maybe, where it was from the NRA telling me to buy a I Stand With the NRA sticker to put on my Yeti cooler, not shoot it, not throw it away, but buy their sticker to put on my Yeti cooler. And to me,
did it say Yeti?
No, the sticker didn't say Yeti. They would send you basically a free I Stand With the NRA sticker to put on your Yeti cooler if you wanted to. And to me, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because, instead of taking the position of like, okay, this is our statement. They've parted ways with us, whatever. We're moving forward. They're like doubling down now and going back on it, trying to get people to actively go against them when it's like, again, that's the divisiveness within the community that I don't get. And I just don't know to what end it benefits their cause because, the NRA has changed a lot over the years. And I get it now more than ever, they're digging in and taking hard lines because, the threat against the Second Amendment is not getting any less threatening, and quite the opposite. But, for a guy like me who supports a company like Yeti and I support the NRA and the Second Amendment, I'm feeling conflicted now because I look at it the fact that, okay, if they changed their mind and they wanted to go a different route, okay, at least they participated for a period of time. How many other companies out there have never participated, and not just with the NRA, but with a number of other conservation organizations? It's like, there's a lot of layers to this onion, and to that end, I just don't see, to me, how it makes sense for the NRA to attack this company the way they have, and then turn around and say like, oh, hey, other cooler company, we want you to partner with us. And they're going to look but like, don't you dare think about backing out from us in a year or two because look, this is what we're going to do to you too, kind of thing.
A straight strong arm. But I guess for the people that aren't on social media, if you haven't seen what has been going down, which is, if you watch news, it's been on Breitbart and everything else, but so Yeti, I guess we can just give a baseline of it. Yeti had a legacy discount program, and they ended up, I guess, getting rid of that program with the option to go into the new discount program. From what I've heard, I obviously don't know, but there were 300 plus companies or arms of companies that were in this legacy program that got discontinued. The only one that is really coming out against Yeti is the NRA. And that's where I'm kind of wondering why.
Right.
Maybe they just really like Yeti and they want, but I don't even know what the new discount program is. Or maybe it's, they aren't getting free coolers, but now they have to pay a little bit and that's what rubbed them wrong. Now, something to add into that we're talking about businesses and, kind of leadership, management, planning, stuff like that. Yeti had been wanting to have their IPO, and they ended up pulling out of that. Now, there's a company that I'm working for currently in my 9-to-5 job that we're starting a project, and in September, there's a due diligence team that is coming in before the IPO
What's
of this
an IPO?
company.
I'm not smart enough to know what that means.
Initial okay. Public offering for
going public.
They're going on
trade
to
market. Gotcha.
The market. Yeah. Yeah. So Yeti was setting up to do that. They have, I don't want to say backed out, but they have canceled their initial IPO. And what that gets me to thinking is, if they are planning on doing that, then I'm sure that they had a due diligence team come in, someone, some kind of analyst, and said, listen, this legacy program is going to hurt you. Like, this is not good for your future investors, and you need to change it. This is just my thought process. So Yeti says, okay, we're going to cancel the IPO. We're going to streamline our discount program, get rid of this legacy program. And the next thing you know, the NRA puts out a statement saying that Yeti doesn't support the Second Amendment or children getting into hunting and outdoors. So that's kind of where I'm like, well, I can see Yeti's point, because I'm going through it, not personally, but, well, kind of personally, because I'm involved in this one that's going to be happening. And if that was the case, then that's really bad luck on Yeti's part. And I got into argument with someone because they're like, well, it's really bad timing to do that with the state of this nation. Well, the state of the nation most likely isn't going to get any better in the near future. So if they're looking to go public and they need to make these changes, when would a good time be? And that's something that I'm struggling to find out.
Yeah. I don't know. What you're saying to me makes sense. I don't know enough about any of that stuff to make an educated statement, but what I would say is, if there's anyone that's listening to this show that's associated with the NRA or Yeti, you want to come on and talk about it, the invitation's there. So hit us up. But this episode isn't, yeah, of course,
that'd be fun.
Give them an opportunity to speak directly to the, to the people that support their products. And for the record, I own Yetis, not going to change from that. Love the Second Amendment, love this country, not going to change from that either. So, to me, none of this makes any difference. So I'm going on with my life just like normal. I got, more things to worry about than that kind of stuff. But what this did was kind of spur our thought process as to, are we losing our minds when it comes to brand loyalty and, all of the things that go along with that? I mean, in our group alone, the arguments that come up about particular companies is insane. I mean, it never ends, right? And we wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit, because it seems like no matter how many times you say it, it just is the same thing over and over again, right? I mean, the narrative never seems to change.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter if you're talking about waders or guns or whatever. And now our group is fantastic, because they know that if you're not putting in useful information into a conversation, one, you're going to get deleted, two, you're going to get blocked. So, we have, I don't even know how many people in there, 3,500 or so. And a lot of people are engaged, and they talk and actually add good information to a conversation. So I'm thankful for that part. That being said, there's still, like, what makes you so passionate about that? And it has to be financial obligation, because you bought that product. You feel insulted, I guess, if someone likes a different product better than what you're using. I could see some envy, I guess, if you can't personally afford some of the higher end products, and that makes you upset. So you just say, well, that product sucks, and I use this because it's better. When in reality, if you're paying for a higher end product, it most likely is a superior product, and you're just mad, or it upsets you that you can't afford it, which is very understandable. So I think those are some of the main reasons that people get so connected to a product or a company. I think on the other end too, if you know someone at that company and have a personal relationship with them and you know that they're good people and doing their best, then that's very hard to get away from that or not defend them.
I will speak on a personal level to that point. Doing this show, we're two guys that are nobodies that started a podcast. And I'll tell you right now, when we pick up the phone or we send somebody a message and ask them about coming on our show, and they don't even think twice and they do it just to talk about waterfowl hunting and spend some time with dudes with like-minded thoughts, those are going to be companies that I'm going to support. You can bet your last dollar that's fact. And some of the companies that cause a lot of rifts are exactly those companies that are saying, "Yep, when can we do it? When you want to do it?" Some of the other companies that are on the other side of that argument, they want to know, well, how big is your reach and all of these things. And it's like, that's fine. They're within their right to do that. No big deal. But I want to support the guys that support the industry. And for me, some of those companies, that's exactly why I do it. It's one of the major reasons is because they were willing to give us the time of day, period. Not all companies are like that. Believe me. We get emails all the time. Hey, you should have this person on. You should have that company on. You should have this, that, and the other. Trust me, we've reached out to a lot of people in the industry. Not everybody picks up the phone. Or if they do, they're not interested in what we're selling. Just our platform. So forgive us if we take a little bit of a personal slant to it because it matters to us. And that's something that is as a whole, something that matters to me. Like I've said, I'm past the point in my life where price is the only factor. When I was younger, we grew up in a small town. I did all my camo shopping at basically Walmart. Didn't care what the camo pattern was. It was whatever I could afford, whatever would keep me mildly comfortable. That's what I cared about, or what my parents were willing to shell out to get me. That's pretty much it, right? For me, fortunately enough, about to be 35 years old. Those days are behind me now. I have the ability to allot my budget towards hunting. And before people kind of go off the deep end on price alone, I've brought this point up before, and it's something that I think is valid, and maybe I'm wrong, but everybody in their life spends more money on something that somebody else would not. For example, if you smoke, you spend more money on cigarettes than I'm willing to spend on cigarettes, right? So whatever you spend on cigarettes in the course of a year, maybe I'm putting that into, camo or, ammo or whatever it is, right? I mean, we all have the budget that we have and we allot the funds that we have based on what's important to us. It's really that simple. So, if your budget is smaller, then you don't have the opportunity, or if you're not willing to try to save, then you get what you afford. And I don't think anybody, at least that I've seen, has ever said that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, a lot of guys, when they're talking about Sitka, for example, they'll take the elitist approach, and guys that like Sitka think that that's the only thing on the market and all of these kinds of things. I've seen a ton of people tell you, that are staunch Sitka people that are very close to the brand say, buy what you can afford, man. Do you? It's all good. It's all good. But it seems like it's the people that don't buy Sitka are the ones that want to start the fights. And I'm sure this podcast alone is going to cause a storm in the group and whatever.
Yeah. So let's go forward onto how much value do you put on customer service, and not just customer service as far as returning something or, I don't know, just you have a problem and you want to get it fixed, but customer service as far as a company interacting maybe on Facebook or on social media, getting in certain groups, because we have a few industry professionals in our group, and you ask a question and they're right on it, compared to some companies that I've emailed, I've messaged on Instagram, Facebook, I've called, and cannot get a call back or an answer. So how much value do you put on just a company willing to reach out and talk to you on a personal level?
I mean, I think that there's a ton of value that goes into that. I mean, to know that when you call the phone of some of these companies and you're calling, and the person that answers is the one that's the owner of the company, the buck stops with that person. That is an incredible situation that you just don't get very often. You don't get that opportunity very often. Or to have companies that are, dedicated to, being visible, available to answer questions, because they know by buying their product, you're making an investment in them and you're spending hard-earned money that you could be spending on something else. And it's like one of those things that you take for granted. But usually when you get on, like an airplane, the captain will come on and he'll say, I know there's a lot of choices out there and we appreciate you choosing to fly with us, right? It's basically that, but on a more intimate level, where if you've got a question about how to deploy the product or how to best use it, or, I've seen a lot of companies where the guy wasn't even asking a question or maybe didn't even know that a representative was like in the group, just made a statement about the product. Maybe it wasn't functioning properly or had a question or whatever. And then you see one of those people chime in, unannounced, like, they're not asking for it. They just get involved in the conversation. They interject in the conversation to help out or make a right or wrong or whatever it is. That's huge, because every company's going to make mistakes, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what you're buying. You could buy one that just doesn't function properly. Things happen, but is that company going to stand behind that and support you as the consumer and say, let's make this right? Those are the kind of things that are really, really important, I think. And, I think you see that a lot in the waterfowl industry. It's a small niche community. And I think people understand the value of that in an arena where you're not buying just one decoy or one gun or one jacket. Usually you're buying, a whole bunch of things that kind of go in concert with those. They understand that, they want you to have a good experience so that when you go to buy another product that they offer, they're the first company you think of. I think that's the key to what you see some of these companies just growing exponentially, is because they've got that part figured out.
Yeah, and it's so comforting, because there are some companies that we have on or have had on that even if I message today, talking about an episode that we had them on or something, like they have no idea what I'm talking about, in comparison to some companies where I'll message and they'll, talk personal life, stuff like that. And it's a game changer. You feel, appreciated as a customer. And I think that creates a lot of loyalty to those people.
Yeah.
And I'd say, yeah, there are a lot of companies that, like you said, and we've had them on, Dustin Jones from 737, the Lifetime guys, like you call them and you get right on there. And then there are companies, Lucky Duck, and you get answers right away in our group, and from Ricky Hart. And he's not the owner, but he works for them, and he'll get in there and be like, well, why don't you try this? Or here's my number, call this number. And yeah, man, you're going to support them when they reach right back out to you and solve your issues without you having to wait on hold for 25 minutes or jump through, info contact on their webpage and then wait for an answer. And that's I support those companies, and I would go and defend them if there's bad stuff said that isn't true about them. So I can definitely see that, it definitely contributes to all the fighting in social media.
One of the biggest examples of this that you and I have talked about, and it's not waterfowl related, but Aaron Snyder over there at Kafaru, you see that dude in that Kafaru's Facebook group any day of the week, Sundays, it doesn't matter. If someone's got a question or they got a concern about the product, that dude puts his cell phone out to a group that's got a ton of people in it, right? I mean, his phone probably blows up off the hook. But by God, I'm like, that dude, he's in on it, man. And it's like, I don't know him from Adam. I don't know him, at all. But I got a lot of respect for the guy for that fact alone. And I can tell you, if I was interested in a pack for that style hunting, they'd be right at the top of the list for that reason alone. And I know that their stuff's a little bit more expensive, but it'd be that reason alone just to know that if I run into a problem, I got a guy that can help me, and he'll give me his cell phone number on a Sunday night if I needed it.
Yeah, he's pretty incredible, because you'll see pictures of a hunt, and Aaron will be off on the side on his cell phone on the top of a mountain because he got service and can get in touch with someone that had an issue. And that's customer service is, I don't know. And you look at, I just want to shout out to Sitka, because their customer service is one of Definitely. The best out there. And those, it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to take care of you. So,
right. and I think the other thing too, I just want to point out really quickly, you don't have to have an expensive product to get good customer service, right? Like that's not a correlation that's one and the same. So there are a ton of companies that sell, just products that are, in a lower price point that are just as good as that. It's like you hear guys talking about, like, Dustin was telling you 737, you call that personal number and you're getting him on the phone. Or, there's a lot of companies that are like that are small family type businesses that, they're not selling $500 Gore-Tex jackets or, $800 mountain packs. They're selling $100 duck calls, but it still matters to them. And as a person who's buying that product, I don't care if I'm spending $5 or $500. I want to know that it matters to the person on the other end of the line. At least me personally.
Yeah. And that's a whole family investment. A lot of these guys, they have 9-to-5s, and then this is like after work, they're grinding on the weekends. Garrett from Quack Rack. Just incredible guys. And they have to, I'm just thinking about like what their wives think when, a Saturday delivery truck shows up at their front door and they're like, well, there goes plans to take the kids to the water park today. We got to unload, 10,000 pounds worth of American steel or something, whatever it may be. But that's a lot of sacrifice to get a quality product out there. And, going back to Garrett, it's his cell phone that you reach when you call them if you have an issue, or if you want to place an order, something like that. And that's where, loyalty and just respect. Like, I respect the heck out of those guys to grind that hard on a daily basis and to be successful and have calls at any time of the day. It's incredible. Even, Ramsey, with what his job is, he has to get calls at 3 a.m. from around the world saying, I want to shoot this duck in Russia. He's taking that call, or his wife's taking that call.
Yep. No doubt.
That's incredible. So that compared to a 30-minute on hold wait to try and get an issue fixed, there's a big difference. And if it shows up in a price or not, there is a loyalty to those brands.
Yeah. I think one of the other big things that, for me that I look at is I look at a company's, willingness to innovate and sort of push the envelope on products. And I've talked about this on the show, and I talked about it specifically with breathable waders. Back not long ago, there wasn't a lot of people making breathable waders, right? And if they did, they were not considered for duck hunting. They were always, duck hunting was a neoprene game, right? And this is not that distant, past that we're talking. And for some, it's still that way. But what you're seeing more companies getting into that market and pushing the envelope of what the capability of a breathable wader is and what it can do and how it can benefit the duck hunter. And I've always talked about that, a rising tide raises all boats. So if one company gets out front and everyone else is playing catch up, I'm okay with that, because at some point when they catch up, someone that we don't know is going to be sitting in a boardroom someday and make a recommendation that one day they're going to get laughed at. And then the next year, it's going to be the hottest selling product on the market. And every other company is going to be like, where did this come from? How did we miss this? Now what do we do? I love that. As a duck hunter, I love that, because, I talk about when the Cabela's magazines and, the stuff comes out, Max, every year. I look through there, and the thing that catches my eye the most are the companies that I didn't see in there the year before. And it's like, oh, you're new. what do you got? What do you bring to the table here? If it's the same old kind of stuff, I'm probably just going to flip past the page and keep going. If you got something new, creative, with a little bit of innovation involved, I'm going to take a look, because I think that's just, one of the coolest things that we've been able to see with the duck hunting industry is that, you're getting companies now willing to put the money behind research and development, which is just huge.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, different messages that I've sent out and responses that we've gotten. And I guess, the rising tide rises all ships. How do you feel about companies that, and I'll just say the names, but the Yeti / Arctic straight resemblance with no innovation?
Well, I think
that's what I mean, and that's big right now, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I'm just going to buy Arctic. It's cheaper and the same thing." Well, okay, if this whole thing caused Yeti to go under, Arctic isn't going to have any innovation. I don't think they have a R&D department, except trying to figure out exactly what Yeti's doing.
I mean, again, I don't follow this stuff as closely as some, but I do believe Arctic lost a patent infringement lawsuit, if I'm not mistaken. So that sort of speaks for itself.
I think so.
Having said that, the Arctic person is probably they're probably a different buyer than the person who's buying Yeti. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way at any fashion, but like if I've got $20 to spend and that's all I have to spend that I can use in this manner, yeah, I'm probably buying Arctic because that's what I can afford. If I can't afford Yeti, I'm not going to buy it. Having said that, I got my position on it and having being able to appreciate, innovation, these ramblers and coolers and things like that. That wasn't really a thing before Yeti, from what I remember. Maybe I'm wrong, but Yeti is the one that caught my attention. So, I appreciate the way that they push it. I think it's interesting to see how they've expanded into 5-gallon buckets essentially, and chairs and things like that. And it's one thing if you're innovating brand new stuff, and it's even something, I've quoted Shark Tank on here a bunch of times, and I like that show. But Mr. Wonderful on that show, talks about a better mousetrap. You can take the same product that Yeti's doing, and if you make it better, okay. But it's got to be different in some way. It can't be the same thing. And I know everyone's going to point to these videos that show like, oh, the ice, blah, 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 blah. Again, if Yeti ice melts an hour sooner than Arctic, I don't really care. I just don't. I'm not like I'm not out in the country for 5-10 days. Like I'm keeping beer cool on the back deck or at a tailgate, right? I mean, that's what I'm doing. Not a big deal to me. I don't have any issue at all with people that buy Arctic stuff, use their stuff. Good on you, man. It's all good. I got no issue. That's what you want to do you, man. It's all good. What I have an issue with, though, is those people that want to attack people that buy Yeti for whatever reason. It's like, what good does that do you other than be that whole divisive piece? You're dividing people with common interests. Maybe, whatever it is. You're just being divisive, and I don't really get with that.
Yeah. And I think another thing that some companies do, Yeti being at the main focus of this again, and Sitka would be another one, but just the marketing they do with some of their videos and, some of the stuff they put out resonates with people so much, me being one of those people. Like, yeah, man, they have these duck hunting videos or, elk hunting videos, and that reminds me of trips that I went on, and that's, really cool. And I appreciate the effort that they put into that. And, all that stuff costs too. So, eventually you're going to pay more for an end product when there is all that background stuff going on and getting your name out and doing that excellent stuff. But I think, just going back to, again, why people get so defensive about companies is if you can relate to them, you can relate to the people, you can talk to the people, it's hard. You almost feel like they're a good friend, and it's hard not to defend them. And
I mean, these people spend a lot of time and money and resources doing kind of what we've tried to do, build a community around something that we can share in as a common interest. And, it's built around an outdoor lifestyle. And for us, it's built around waterfowl specifically. And the beautiful thing about this, and why I don't hold any ill will against anybody for any product that they want to purchase and use, is a couple fold. One, if you're getting out and doing it, awesome. I don't care what you're wearing, how you do it. As long as you're doing it, I'm into it. If you're taking kids and introducing kids to the outdoors, I don't care if they're sitting on a Yeti bucket or if they're sitting on a Home Depot bucket. I don't care. You're doing the right thing. And the third thing is, it's America, man. Capitalism. You don't want to spend money on Yeti? Don't. But this is what I'll say. Don't say that they're overpriced, because the market sets the price. If you don't want to buy it and you want to spend your money elsewhere, that's cool. But as long as there's people willing to spend money on Yeti, then it is priced, then it's worth it for them, right? I mean, the market sets the price. So as long as there's people willing to buy it, the whole, it's overpriced, that's not I mean, in your opinion, maybe it is, but the market's saying something different, right? So I think it's just, we get wrapped up around the axle so much about what other people are doing. And I don't know how y'all have the time in the day to do that, man. I can barely keep track of the one almost 7-year-old son that I got, and he's whooping my tail just trying to do that. I'm not lying to you, man. I'm not lying to you. I went turkey hunting for the first time today, this entire turkey season, because I'm busy coaching baseball and going fishing and doing crappy tournaments and, doing all the stuff that I love to do with my kid. And he's not quite to the point where he wants to get up at, 3:30 in the morning, go hunt with me. And that's fine. But I don't care. If I give him a water bottle that says Yeti on it, or if I give him one that says Ozark Trail on it, he doesn't care. As long as the water's cold when he's sweating, that's what he cares about. So however you need to do what you got to do, man, it's all good. Just do you. But just look at yourself in the mirror before you, go on and be divisive with a bunch of other people that share common interests with you in the form of outdoorsmanship and that sort of thing. Just think about what is it? Why are we being so divisive with each other? What does that accomplish, right? I mean, what good does that do? There's enough people in the world that want to tear the hunting community apart. We don't need to do it ourselves.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can say about that, but just remember where the common ground is, and it's not worth it. And I mean, anti-hunters and anti-gun people have to be having a field day just watching this whole thing develop. Like, I can only imagine how happy that they are to see the hunting community argue about a discount program for a cooler.
Well, what it tells you
when it comes down to
the NRA's reaction to this is clearly Yeti products brought a lot of money to the table for them. So there's a lot of people out there that are willing to throw money at the opportunity to get Yeti products. So, that's obviously a good thing. But, at what point do you say, well, where's, I don't know, there's a million other cooler companies out there. Have they done any kind of work with the NRA? Maybe they have. What other companies have they worked with? Do they do work with Delta and DU and Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and Trout's Unlimited and all these other companies, organizations that out there doing good work? I don't know. I don't know. But, sometimes I just wish people, could just take a breath. And, this is one of the things about social media that just terrifies me, man. It's like, we talked about it in our group. If I'm a new hunter and I come into that group and I see a post at the top that's got like 300 comments on it about people just tearing each other up over these kinds of topics, I'm out, man. I'm out, because that's literally every other forum on the internet. There's plenty of places to be jerks on the internet. We don't want our group to be one of them. So if you're a teenager, older in life and you're just getting into duck hunting, whatever it is, you got questions about duck hunting, you want to ask them in a place where you're not going to get ridiculed and people tell you that you're stupid and all these other things, come to our listeners group, and that's a place where you can do it, because all we're about doing is talking waterfowl and spreading, the sport that we love. No divisiveness, no crap, just straight up good dudes. If I couldn't imagine hanging out with you around a campfire, probably not going to have you in the group. Just going to be that simple.
Yeah. The tone has been set in there, and we had this conversation. I don't think because we wanted to, but kind of because we had to, kind of hit on it. But it worked out. So
this is just something that has completely gripped the outdoor landscape, social media especially, and being that our stuff is primarily social media based, it's sort of something that we can't ignore. But and again, I don't want this to come off like we're taking sides, and I'm sure some of you feel that is exactly what's happening, and maybe subconsciously we are. I don't know, but that's not my intent, right? My intent is to be the best waterfowler I can be, talk about with people, waterfowl hunting with people that are new to the sport, and as well as people that know more than me, so that I can learn from them. And I can tell you, I'm not going to care if you dress in Realtree and you wear Drake, or if you wear Sitka gear, or if you wear your your grandpa's BDUs from back in the day. I don't care. It's all good, honestly. Just focus on the things that we share as outdoorsmen, and we will be so much further ahead. That's all there is to it.
Yep, I think we as much as everyone else has beat a dead horse, so I'm okay to wrap this up because I see a big fat groundhog outside, and I might try and go cap it here.
22 AR. What's the weapon of choice?
22. Nice. We'll go 22 on this one. Just a little silent approach. All right. Well,
yeah. The only other thing I wanted to mention, and I meant to do this in the early part of the show, and I forgot. I know a lot of you guys have gone onto our website and checked out the new hats that we've got put on there. Appreciate everybody that's ordered. If you've wanted to get in on some HP swag, you can go onto the hpoutdoors.com website under store, and we've got a couple new hat designs that we've got in there. Currently we're out of stock on barrel decals, but we're working to get more of those and a few other decal styles and stuff put together. So,
I know the black hats we're getting down on. I think we only have 3 or 4 left. The brown ones, we have a few left. So
yeah, so check those out if you're interested. And thanks again to everybody who's already made that purchase. And I think
and we have a partner program, or not a program, but we have a partner page, and those companies are companies that have supported the show in one way or another, and you can check them out. And if you do message them, I'm sure you will get a message back or a call picked up. So all good people.
Yep.
Good people behind great products.
And if you're in the market for something, make sure you check that discount code that we've got with Duns. Get 10% off your purchase. What is that? HPO? Is that what we got, Dan? Is that what that code is? Yeah.
HPO,
so HPO gets you 10% off at Duns. That does exclude a few items, but for the most part, I think a lot of guys will be able to take advantage of that. So definitely check that out if you're in the market for some outdoor gear. And with that,
and I tell you what, they're one to follow.
Dan wants to end the show, won't end
the show. Duns comes out with deals on guns all the time. $1,000 guns are selling for $700, and in our group, I know we just moved double digits on the Benelli M2s 12 gauges. So,
awesome.
So that's check out our Facebook group. HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast Listeners Group will let you in, and a lot of good stuff going on in there. And that is the last thing I will say. Have a great Sunday. Have a great Monday when you listen to this. And I'm out.
Well, before we wrap it up, I do want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of this week's show, Cornerstone Gun Dogs Academy, Gunner Kennels, and Big Al Silhouette Decoys. Thank you to the companies that support our show, and we encourage you to support the companies that support us. All right, that does it for episode 80 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our discussion about this topic and kind of understand where we're coming from, and we can all just get along and enjoy the outdoors as a community. If you want to catch up on any past episodes, check us out, iTunes, Stitcher, all the places you can find good podcast content, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play Store, all the good ones. We appreciate you tuning in this week. Check us out again next week when we come back with some brand new content. So until then, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.